Hey everybody, welcome back to GWN. I am Noctir, your host. So I wanted to talk a little bit about 3 stars today. See, I had an opportunity about a week ago, towards the beginning of the season, to go hang out with the guys over on Nightmares for a little bit. And they were posting all kinds of just great kills as they played the game. And, you know, at the beginning of the season, you kind of expect that, right? And then this one came up from Jordan, and I thought, well, yeah, it's a 3-star, no big deal. Lots of 3 stars at the beginning of the season, until I took a closer look at his opponent. And sure enough, this is a fully maxed base. Now, I don't care where you're at in the season, if you hit a fully maxed base for 3 stars, that's something to be proud of, because that ain't easy to do. Especially when you're dealing with, yeah, we'll call it a relatively decent base. I mean, this is a bracket base, which, you know, bracket bases are so-so right now. A lot of a lot of players have figured out how to beat them fairly well in that 70-75% range. But this is, again, a 3-star, so 100%. So I sat there and I watched this, and I'm like, how did this guy beat this base 100% when it's fully maxed? Right down to the walls. I mean, it's level 8 walls, right? So I started to ask around a little bit over on Oz Builders, as well as over on Divergent Void, and just, you know, are you guys seeing many 3 stars? And they came through with a lot of 3-star replays. Now, I only grabbed a few because these are usually pretty long. One of the things when you're going up against max or near max bases, and I typically call near max bases where they've got all their defenses maxed out and they're just working on walls, because walls are a big deal, don't get me wrong, but the walls with things like the bomber and that, they're not as, what's the word I'm looking for? They're not as important to breaking an offense that's coming in from a good player. If you're a good player, you know how to work through the walls. And that's what we see in this one and the other ones. I mean, Jordan does a great job on this. I mean, it was really a treat to watch this replay and see the 3-star. But there's a lot of players that are really very, very good at the game, and the walls don't really stop their attacks. Yeah, it'll slow them down a little bit, and typically it prevents the 3-star. You know, kick them back to maybe 70, 75, 80%. I got a bunch of them on me sharing, and another one that are 75, 80, 83, 81, 77, 79, and those are all really good, solid attacks as well. So, but these are 3 stars, and they're just not that common. These guys are all max bases with typically level 7 and level 8 walls, so they've got decent enough walls to slow down the attacks, but it doesn't stop them. Here we got Dorian using his signature move, his Jaibaka, where he takes out a camp of, well, depending on how you run Jaibaka, it'd either be a camp of giants or a camp of carts, and replaces it with a Super P.E.K.K.A. that typically goes across the top and distracts the giant cannon, and then, knock on wood, takes the giant cannon out. And you can see here the Super P.E.K.K.A. does a great job of distracting that giant cannon and finally taking it out, and even working her way over to the Builder Hall, where she gets in a lick and then, boom, bounces as well, causing some additional damage to the Builder Hall. At that point, you know, the cannon carts can finish off the Builder Hall, and you've still got a fully charged battle machine with not a whole lot to stop them. Now, the one thing I notice about all of these 3 plays on these near max or max bases is they're typically long. At the end of the attack, you'll have a couple of cannon carts, or maybe it's the battle machine, or you know, whatever. It could be some beta minions. It doesn't matter. But at the very end of the attack, you've got just a couple of troops, or one troop, that works its way through the last 4, 5, 6 buildings to pull off the 3-star. And it's a perfectly legitimate 3-star in my mind. You know, you don't typically see those crazy attacks where somebody just goes in and in a minute or a minute and a half, 3 stars of base. Not at this level of play. I mean, these guys are, we're talking max bases here, right? This is high-end stuff. These aren't the, you know, the quick and dirty go in and kick it and get out kind of attacks that you would typically see. A lot of the attacks that these guys are doing, they're normally in the mid-60s to mid-70s. As of today, we're maybe 7 days, 8 days into the season, I think it is, and the guys are talking about having to get over 70% to consistently win. And that's because the level of competition is really up in the game. This game started a little over a year ago, and a bunch of us started when the game started. So we've been pretty much keeping pace with the game as new releases came out. And when Builder Hall 8 was released, we had a little bit of lag time there, if you will, that we could actually work on any of our past upgrades that we didn't get done, as well as the new upgrades that needed to be done. So right now, you've got, well, the gemmers are always maxed right away, but you've got the light gemmers who are also maxed, people like me. You've got people that don't really spend any money. Maybe they buy a bonus pack or something like that, a level up bonus pack. They're either maxed or pretty doggone close. And the free-to-play players are also getting very close to being maxed. Anybody who's been playing this, die hard, rock on, really getting into it since day one, has got all of their defenses maxed out, as well as, I'll call it 4 maxed attack strategies, and probably a maxed battle machine. Now, that's to say nothing of the walls, which are typically at least level 7, if not level 7, and a mix of level 8s as well. So we've reached that point now that the competition is there. Players are finally able to compete on a relatively even playing field at the top. So it's no longer the guy who has a mix of level 7 and 8 defenses getting to the top of the leaderboards. Maybe in country, because in country, you got a much smaller group in the player base, but global is really where it's at. That's where the big numbers are. That's where everybody competes with everybody. So if you're really wanting to see if you've got what it takes, you want to test your mettle, that's the stat you want to measure yourself against. And these players are all doing well in the global leaderboards, typically the top 200, so they usually show up on the leaderboard. And some of them are cruising up to the top 50, the top 10. We even will have videos periodically from somebody that makes it a little bit higher than that. So these are good, strong players, and they're being met by more and more good, strong players as we have the time to max our bases. Taking a look in the 4,000s, I'm seeing, typically in the 4,000s, you're looking at players midway through maybe a couple of level 7 defenses and a mix of level 6, 7, and 8 walls. Every once in a while, somebody with level 5 walls will pop up, but you don't see players that have level 6 anything on their defense in that 4,500 and beyond mark. Not for long, at least. I mean, I guess they might manage to get up there real early in the season. I doubt that, to be honest. But most of what you're seeing above 4,500 now are players that have max defenses. Couple of not max defenses, but generally speaking, they're players with max defenses. That is huge for the competition on this game. Now, if we could just get Supercell to fix the leaderboards so that they were an accurate reflection of the player base and, not showing people that hadn't played in months or who had negative trophies or whatever, take your pick, that would be absolutely awesome. But I guess, what can you do? You just keep on complaining about it, right? But in the meantime, we get lots of great replays from a lot of players who have got just fantastic troops and attack strategies going for them. Here's our last one. This one's from Lightning Rod. And you'll notice this base is very similar to the first one that we looked at. It's again another bracket base. And he comes in with a Jybok. Just a straight up Jybok. And again, everything's maxed, walks right through the base, forms up that offensive line and attacks with the cannon cars from the protected position. Attack takes about maybe 2 minutes, give or take a few seconds there, which is pretty much standard for these 3-star attacks. Most of the attacks that are getting in the mid-60s to mid-70s are taking about a minute and a half. So the time to complete the attacks, again, definitely affected by the levels of the defenses. Now, what makes these bases most likely getting 3-star? What's the reason for them most likely being 3-star? I don't know. I really don't, because a lot of them are general bases that you see everywhere. We have a couple of brackets, diamond, we have a little eyebrow base in that. There's no real clue as to why, in particular, a lot of these bases are getting taken down so heavy. Now, some of the other ones that I've seen recently, they had some kind of funky base designs. We've got some high 2-stars I'll have in my next video where some of the bases kind of make you scratch your head. Why did they do that? But these are not those kinds of bases. These are typically meta bases or variants of meta bases. So decent base designs. You've got all 4 pillars going here. Attack, offense, defense, and base design. And these players are all doing really well. Yet, you know, we're seeing these 3 stars. So that's kind of cool. Definitely an offense-centric game, and it makes it more interesting, if you ask me. So there you go. There's a bunch of 3 stars to take a look at. They are still happening in max and near max bases. Comments, questions down below in the comments section. Feel free to email me, gamingwithnock@gmail.com. I look forward to any and all comments, and I do try to respond to everybody. On that note, I'm going to go ahead and head on out of here. Y'all take care and keep on clashing. Bye-bye.